Hi, this is Bob, and we're with Beth Schmidt today. Beth is a product manager for document imaging. Now that we have both Perfect Page and VRS in the portfolio, I was wondering if you could answer some questions.
Great, Bob. Thank you very much for the chance to participate.
These are the key things that have come up as I've talked to folks around the world. And I'm not going to read the list to you. Let's just jump right in. People fundamentally say, okay, what is Perfect Page and VRS? Are they the same? Are they different? And Beth, you've been working in this a long time. How would you answer that question?
The Perfect Page and VRS at the highest level, think of both of those as image processing and manipulation tools. They're used by the scanners to create usable images to solve business problems. Scanners, as we know from a generic standpoint, produced unprocessed images that wouldn't be acceptable for downstream processing. So Perfect Page and VRS are both put in place to create acceptable images for downstream processing.
You and I have talked a lot about what Perfect Page and VRS are. Can you get to really the bottom line and put it into a big picture so that we can understand what it is we need to think about versus some of the, getting lost in some of the details?
What all of us care about in our business processing are the results, the entire reason that we buy a capture platform or a capture solution. Everyone's familiar with the ability to process normal documents. So Perfect Page and VRS work very well in terms of processing normal documents. In terms of exception documents, those documents that might require extra processing to produce the results that you require, both Perfect Page and VRS provide that. Perfect Page does it in a way that has no stopping. VRS, on the other hand, is more of an interactive focus. Both, however, produce usable images, which improve read rates, have fewer exceptions, fewer key from image, and in the bottom line is both meet your business goals.
Now the question comes up on the next slide. People keep asking about what are the costs associated with either a Perfect Page or a VRS implementation. Can you cover some of those details?
Sure. So when putting together any kind of a capture platform and your total solution, you want to consider all of the building blocks and the elements that are included in it. So there's the scanner itself, which would be the hardware. There's the software, which is your application interface. There's your initial purchase for those, as well as any ongoing support costs. For Kodak Perfect Page scanners, Perfect Page would be built into the scanner itself. In situations where a VRS is part of the implementation, that can be an additional cost. Operator training is also important in terms of thinking about the complexity of your solution. Any setup time and, again, your integration and your supportability efforts associated with that. And then service for all components, whether that be hardware or software elements. So in looking at your total cost of ownership and adding that with your throughput and your ability to meet your overall business goals, all of the building blocks need to be considered in your total cost.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I just want to parrot this back to you to make sure that I understand it. For the Perfect Page scanners, that's already built in, and for the VRS scanners that we sell, Ingenuity, Trooper, and Sidekick, that's already included in the scanner, right? That's included in the price that's quoted?
Absolutely. But for some other competitors, that may be an additional cost. But in terms of Kodak, Perfect Page and VRS are included in the product offerings.
And as we're going to get to in a few minutes under connectivity and those questions, Perfect Page scanners do work in a VRS environment without adding VRS to that scanner, right?
Absolutely.
People hear about, and I see there's hardware versions and there's software versions of Perfect Page and VRS, and really, what are those differences and why are they built that way?
So from a final result standpoint, as far as your images and their usability, there would be no difference. It would be transparent which implementation was utilized to create that solution. The real key is throughput. What sustained throughput do you expect from your capture platform and from your scanning environment? There's a difference between a spec sheet and a real-world situation. Ideally, if you had the situation where you could test with your own documents and your own environment with all your important features enabled, that would be the key in terms of picking your solution. Again, whether it's hardware or software, the resulting image isn't going to look any different. Really, the hardware implementation becomes a factor of sustained throughput.
So there's really a lot of variables in any operation, and you need to test it.
Absolutely. And when we talk about features and making sure that they're all enabled, we want to make sure that your auto crop, deskew, auto orientation, some of the really significant usability issues, that you have those on in your testing. So it's not just comparing spec sheets, it's actually doing that testing. Ideally side-by-side testing where we know a Kodak scanner will show its true advantage. Again, all features enabled to make sure that the resulting images meet your business objectives. A lot of material available from Kodak to show you the themes and variations of Kodak products. We do have the broadest portfolio with these features, and again, the sustained throughput and usability.
Beth, let's talk about connectivity. And connectivity is something that all scanner users have to work with. Can you talk about connectivity for Perfect Page and for VRS?
Sure. Let's start with connectivity for Perfect Page. Perfect Page scanners allow you to integrate using either the Twain, ISIS, WIA, or for some scanners, the Linux driver. In addition to that, you would be able to create VRS or AIP sources for Kodak scanners. Capture Pro supports all Kodak scanners, and in addition also supports some competitive scanners. Because of that, we have the ability to support a VRS source as well as any Perfect Page, ISIS, Twain, WIA, or Linux sources. Smart Touch is a Perfect Page functionality, Perfect Page connectivity, that allows output to several destinations. Capture Desktop, which is a version of Capture Pro that ships with some Kodak scanners, also allows connectivity to Perfect Page scanners and the ability to output to several destinations. So Perfect Page is ISIS, Twain, WIA, Linux, and in addition to that, can be used Perfect Page scanners to interact with AIP and VRS sources as well. When we move to VRS connectivity, which is summarized here, VRS connectivity is either through a direct VRS source, or in some cases, it utilizes the ISIS device driver.
Okay. It's not so much the features, it's not so much the connectivity, because there's all sorts of different options from both different sources, Perfect Page and VRS.
Correct. From an integration standpoint, we have the ability to implement and utilize all Perfect Page or VRS functionality, and it's transparent in your final resulting image and your business results, which method you utilize to perform that operation.
Beth, thanks. I appreciate your time, and you have a great day.
Thanks, Bob.